Bob Flowerdew. Well, it's always nice to catch up with you, Bob. Once a year we have a rundown on what you've grown, successes,
not managed to grow.
or not managed to grow this year. So come on, how's the Norfolk garden?
Well, it was a miserable winter, wasn't it? And it was so wet and so cold, and spring kept on cold. So it's really miserable in the sense of the things that you want to grow well, like the tomatoes, the peppers, the sweet corn, the squashes, have all been very slow and are not doing so well. But then the potatoes, they've loved it. The cool conditions suited them. The onions are fine. The peas were good. So the only thing is, to be honest, I would rather have had the melons than the cabbages. The strawberries have been good.
They were good, yes.
The early ones. The later ones weren't so good. And I've gone over now to growing more and more of my strawberries in tubs, so that they can live outside, and then when they come into flower, I just take the tubs into the polytunnel just for the 2 weeks when they're producing the fruit, ripen, and then they go back outside. I'm fed up with netting them in the garden and the birds getting inside the netting. You have to go and get the bird out of the netting, and they've eaten all the damn fruit in the meantime.
All your best fruit, definitely.
They always take the best ones. Yeah, though it doesn't always work. In fact, it was last night, I shut the polytunnel up and I didn't shut the door properly. This morning I went out, a blackbird had been in there and had taken every grape from half a dozen grapevines. They're all in tubs, so there's not many on each one. And I must have walked out, I must have rolled out to have eaten all of those in one night. Little pig.
Do you try new varieties? Because, we're always told to buy new varieties. I mean, I always remember starting to grow vegetables myself after having grown them with my dad, who was just a keen gardener. And you end up going into the shop and buying exactly what your dad bought.
Well, that's quite good in the sense it worked. This is the farmer's thing. You do what you did last year because you got here, right? But, for instance, with carrots, there must be 20 or 30 varieties easily available. They're all different. Some don't do so well. Those multicoloured ones never do as well as the standard orange. However, it's worth trying. I mean, if you like the taste, brilliant. So what I suggest is, and what I do, is say 1 year I will do a carrot trial. I'll get 10 or 15 varieties. Sow a little row of each, see how they do. So several batches, because not always one batch does. Anyway, then you try them and you see, well, these ones did well, but I don't actually like the flavour. Well, these ones didn't do so well, but I like. Try them and then you know which ones. So then the following year you do a beetroot trial. Then the following year you do a French bean trial. So each year a trial to see which varieties suit. So always try the new ones. They might be better, but they might not. You don't know till you try. And don't forget, although they tell you you've got to get new seeds every year, if you open the packet, take out the seeds, seal the packet again really well, and keep them cool and dry, most seeds last 3 years. So, you can get a lot more life out of them.
Do you still do, as my dad used to, dry some of your runner bean and then keep the bean from year to year?
Oh, yes. The broad beans, the runner beans, the
French
peas,
bean.
all very easy, and they come fairly true. Some things that don't come true, the squashes, butternut squashes, if you plant the seed from those and you've got anything else, they'll cross and you'll end up with something that's not quite what you wanted, but it'll still be edible.
So really, all in all, each year has its good things and bad things, and you have to take it as it comes.
Well, the answer is be a gardener, not a farmer. You see, a farmer has 4 crops, and anyone fails is almost out of business. A gardener has 40 crops, so as long as he remembers to look at the 10 that did well, not the 10 that did badly, he's going to do fine.
Bob Flowerdew, you've got a book. Now, it's a rather novel book. Come on, tell me its title.
Well, I did 24 with publishers, and then I decided to publish my own, and I'm doing that. And then I thought, well, people might want to know how I got to where I am now. So I've written my autobiography. A foreign county, as is Norfolk. It's a foreign county, ain't it? And that's the first 12 years of my life, of how I grew up. Went to the local school where it was terrible, and then I went to another school. Which I say it was a cross.
Was that terrible as well?
It was an I, and it was a cross between Gormenghast and Hogwarts with a bit of wacko thrown in. Now, if you don't remember what wacko was, it was a programme on the television where the headmaster spent his entire time trying to find excuses to cane the boys' bottoms. It's so politically incorrect, you can't imagine it. I don't know where that went, but my school was like that. It was closed down after I'd been there a year.
So how did you get into gardening? and growing.
Well, originally I did engineering.
I was going to say, I knew you'd done something completely
Yeah,
different.
no, I learned to I learned to glide while I was 15. I got a glider pilot's license. Then the RAF trained me, and I got a pilot's license. And I was going to join the RAF. They wanted me to get an engineering degree, and I went off and did the engineering degree. The only problem was I got into computers, and I didn't want to join the RAF at that point. I wanted to play with computers, and I wrote the first game in this country. In 1971, I wrote an interactive game. The only trouble was there were only 2 computers that could run it, so I wasn't going to get rich on that. However, I loved computing. The only thing you could do in computing then was accountancy, so I went into accounts for a year. After a year, I got out of it, and then I realised that every lunchtime I was working in London, I was actually down, sitting on the end of the platform or out on the embankment trying to get some greenery around me. And I realised I'm not an indoor person, I'm an outdoor person. And I thought, right, I travelled around the world and realised the future has got to be green. We have to grow more of our own food. That was in 1970s, and I've been trying ever since to find ways to grow more with less.
But you've got to not only grow more with less, you've got to read your book.
Well, people
Where's it available?
Yeah, it's available. You can get it from Amazon. It's not available in bookshops. I published it privately with Amazon. But I know a lot of people don't like them, but they do mean. And any of you out there, if you've got a book in you, write it. You can put it on Amazon and just have 5 published. You don't have to have 500 filling up your garage and costing a fortune. You can just have 5, and it won't cost you a fortune.
Yeah, Bob Flowerdew with his new book called
Autobiography, Part 1, A Foreign County.